It's patch day here in Snapland. We're going to be breaking down all of the changes and the decks that you can use to immediately take advantage of these juicy buffs. Yes, the developers have done it. They have listened to that small but vocal minority. Anytime they nerf anything, no matter how blatantly OP these people come out of the woodworks, and they say, second dinner, you should just buff the bad cards rather than nerf the good cards. I don't come down on this being a part of this minority. I think that a balanced hand to balance changes is the right way to go, and there have been cards that are certainly overperformers. Zabu. That deserved being nerfed, and the game is healthier as it is, but in this patch we have only buffs, and I am loving it. I'm loving it. Let's dive in. Base stat buffs, we have a category here. 3 cards that were really just getting edged out of seeing play because their base stats are too low. They're better in class for almost everything here, though some of them were getting some niche play, and now the decks that were using them are going to be very happy. Starting out with the Hulkbuster up to a 3-5 from a 3-4. This feels amazing. He was already being used. They keep on trying to juice up the Phoenix deck. That Phoenix Force deck has been getting a lot of love. Maybe this is finally something that can put it really up and over the top. You have the ability to dodge Shang-Chi now if you choose to just pair multiple man in Phoenix Force, or you can go ham if you get the 3-5 Hulkbuster added on. Also, Hulkbuster in Destruction decks is looking pretty juicy indeed, with Destruction being able to open up so many new combos with X23 around the corner and the magic change. Next up, we got Viz, 5-8 instead of the 5-7. Just a great alternate for Legion is right now what I'm thinking. In all these mid-range Hawk decks, living in a location lockdown world, you want Vision on your team. Also, maybe some fun synergies that can break out. It used to be that he was competing with Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel was honestly winning a little bit in terms of just general application, and then Vision was being used in the Lockjaw decks because you would intentionally slide him away to open up more spaces for the Lockjaw energy cheat. Now I think he could just be a good plug-and-play 5 cost, and again, in the location lockdown meta, always nice to be able to have these options. And Absorbing Man, from the 4-3 to the 4-5. I think there is enormous untapped potential in the Absorbing Man that can now be unlocked because players have the motivation to chase after it. It's very similar to the situation of Iron Lad. Iron Lad sitting at the 4-6, grabbing random effects from your deck. Absorbing Man copying on reveal abilities, but this stat line is just approaching relevancy to the point where it grabs any ability and it's going to be quote-unquote making you money. So I'm really excited for what we can see here. I think that he has sleeper potential inside of Move, inside of Discard, and inside of Destroy. These are all on-reveal driven decks that can get extra consistency by including the Absorbing Man and are much more motivated to bring him in now that he is at a 4-5. Move, could still get iced out because the current meta has a lot of Professor X, and Move can't do anything to the Professor X decks. But the Destroy also loses to Professor X. He is so good. Discard could see a resurgence. We shall see. I do have, of course, ideas on how to be able to incorporate all of these into excellent decks right out the gate. Strong possibilities across the board. And now for some other ability reworks or full card reworks. Hawkeye, finally getting some love, some justice for Hawkeye. If you play a card here on the next turn +3 power, previously only +2 power. A +1 power on a 1-cost card is a big deal, and especially an on-reveal that is +3 power. I mean, look, Absorbing Man grabs Hawkeye. He becomes a 4-8. That's fine. That's totally fine. You have Zabu energy efficiency or some other on-reveal synergy, and you could actually play that and be happy. That's how good the Absorbing Man and, well, the Hawkeye buff conjoined is. So now, out of the starter cards, you have Ant-Man and you have Hawkeye. There's actually going to be some choices to make for the early pool players. I know, it's crazy. And Hawkeye with Bounce, I mean, look, Medusa was getting played in Bounce, and she was getting +3, and she was a 2-cost. Now this is a 1-cost getting +3 on reveal as long as you're following up. That's even more flexible than Medusa having to be played on mid. You can get an additional reactivation from the Falcon. So if you beast this back very early and then you play it down again, trigger again, and Falcon it back and then hit it again, it's a 110. All right? Sign me up. I've got some cool variants. I want to be able to play them. Hawkeye's a cool character. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I hope the 1-cost is just so competitive. I hope he can break out. Captain Marvel, our final card that was touched. She's looking at a full rework here, cost and price, but it is a buff. It does come out as a buff because she's gone down 1 in cost and 1 in power. To be able to go down in cost and just stay at tempo, you expect to lose 2 power. So this is a net buff. It makes her much more playable. You can look at a curve that includes both her and Vision much more often. You can look at Zabu, getting her down to the board just more easily in combo with other cards. You don't necessarily care about playing her earlier, but still, again, in the location lockdown meta, having these flexible movement cards, and especially Captain Marvel, who gets to see where all the cards fall before she repositions, can be excellent. Absolutely excellent. Very hyped to see how easily we can incorporate her into different pieces. That 5 power stat line is pretty punchy, and at the 4 cost, easy enough to be able to work her in, play her in decks that we're already running, the Zabu, the Hawk bundle. Let's get into our ideas. First deck we're throwing out here is the Absorbing Destroy. Like I said, I think Absorbing Man has great potential alongside Move, Destroy, and Discard. Move, I think, is just not in a good position in the meta right now. Discard, I think Absorbing Man fits in just really easily with what are currently the meta lists. And then this one, I think, is brewing up something actually a little bit new here. You're going to see the old stat line for the cards. I'm part of the Marvel Snap content creator program, so I get a look at the changes a little bit ahead of time to be able to prepare this content for you guys. We don't get to see gameplay of the new card stat lines, but I am quite confident in this deck being able to get the job done. Look at this. We've got Deadpool, something that wants to be destroyed as often as possible, Carnage, Venom, Deathlock, and Absorbing Man. Sometimes Destroy ends up flat-footed because they don't get enough of their destroying cards, or at least not when they want them, to be able to then scale up their carries. You're only drawing them later in the game, and that's when you actually wanted to be playing Death or Null, because Death is getting discounted, Null is getting amped up. Hitting consecutive destroys in the early and mid game is incredibly important, and that's exactly what Absorbing Man is here to do, and with his new stat line, he does it oh so well. Also, just the scaling on the Deadpool and the Wolverine. Fantastic. Hulkbuster here. Punchy. Very punchy. Alright, if they don't have Killmonger, then you get to go ham on the Deadpool. Put the Buster on the Deadpool, go to town on them. They'll have no way to stop you. If they do have the Killmonger, put it on the Wolverine. Hulkbuster on the Wolverine, eat that sucker up with the Venom, and then eat that sucker up with the Absorbing Man, meaning the spit out larger Wolverine. You're making so much money on the value of that Null, the value of the Venom, and the Absorbing Man. Yes, you are vulnerable to the Shang-Chi. Yes, you get that value right back in the Null, so it's quite nice. This deck is missing any kind of control against the opponent. How you choose to tech that in, I'm not sure. It could be that Yondu actually drops off, but he seems very useful as a 1 cost. It could be that Magic goes, the extra turns maybe don't do that much for us, but I do really love being able to have additional high end when you're looking at the Null and you're looking at the Zola to be able to do wild things with the final turns. We're not even running Nimrod here because we're looking at the Hulkbuster Deadpool Wolverine combo, giving us enough engine, and then just trying to focus on Zola and Null and what we can do there. I love the idea of this deck. Next up, it is another look at Bounce. I don't know if this is fully optimized, but this is what you could be looking at to be able to synergize with this new Hawkeye, getting these successive increments of scaling up. So we have the 3 carries of Angela, Collector, and Bishop. We have the returns in Beast and Falcon, and then we're looking at Kitty, Hawkeye, Medusa, cards that are able to scale up. Iron Man is still here, the Bast being able to hit any of these. Yes, Bast hit the Hawkeye. Ooh, he could be mighty strong. He can be insanely strong. Chavez here to get that extra consistency. It's tried, it's true. You're just dropping off the Hit Monkey from what was an old competitive deck, and you're looking at a reworked Kitty Pryde. Slightly more expensive beast than like the older versions, but I think that this deck can still definitely go places, and Hawkeye being able to punch up. Medusa's the most likely card to get dropped off this list as you want to tech in some kind of control. Let me know how you guys fare if you pick this one up. And we've got yet another brew for you, the anti-lockdown deck. So if you are just sick and tired of location lockdown decks, this one absolutely has it. You got the Captain Marvel, she's moving around. The Vision, she's moving around. The Jeff, he goes anywhere. The Silk, they're also moving around. It's all... It's wild how much movement you can get in here. You could throw in the Miles Morales. We've got the Iron Lad here right now. Iron Lad grabbing... Captain Marvel grabbing Vision, and all of these situations pretty fun. Iron Lad grabbing Silk, probably the least fun. You could also drop for the Miles, like I said, with how much movement, you're very reliably going to be able to get that discount on the Miles. My Dark Tech is the Craven. I know that playing him is sacrificing some of the flexibility of cards like the Jeff and the Vision because you're sort of binding yourself to moving toward the Craven to be able to buff him. But listen, if he catches some random stray buff from the Silk and then either Jeff or Vision moves to him, I mean, heck, Captain Marvel at the end of the game too, he's a 2/6. That's good enough to play just right there. And there could be games where you buff him even farther and then be able to see a lot of return on the Craven. Of course, you could also drop him for another value 2 cost, looking at like Spider Ham to exert control over the opponent. The Silk could also drop if she's not consistent enough. There's a lot of ways that you can open this up. I don't know if you need to go for both Captain Marvel or Vision. You could drop the Captain Marvel for Legion, which is a very popular addition. You could play Absorbing Man in here if you want to be able to grab onto multiple Rock Slides or even multiple Korgs. Just I don't know if the Korg is quite good enough as a 4 cost, but there's a lot of potential here, and I wanted to be able to showcase this is like the absolute, you're sick of location lockdown, this deck blows them away. So there's our hot new decks, all the new buffs. Which cards are you most excited about? Let me know in the comments down below. I think the card that I'm most excited for is actually Hawkeye. I mean, I love Bounce so much. You know that I'm going to be playing that to death. And I do have like 3 Hawkeye variants that have not been getting to the table because I haven't played him since the starter days. And I'm very excited to see what that power threshold. Are we going to be able to get the, what is it with the bass? The 12 power Hawkeye? Ooh, I sure hope so. Tune in on the stream as we test out these new decks and continue to refine and upgrade them. And of course, if you pick up any of them, I hope they earn you many cubes on your climb up to infinite. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.